Dejounte Murray made headlines today. Well, not really big headlines, but headlines with Spurs fans and just, I would say, to some degree, general NBA fans, but mostly Spurs fans. He made headlines. So, what did he do? He got into a war with some Spurs fans, I believe, on his IG page. And I'm just going to read some of the things that were said, the back and forth that was going on. So I'm just going to start off by reading what this one fan said to him to start it all off. His name was Agothany underscore 1980. So this is what he said that set it all off. I doubt that, but we will see. Just wish you would have been the one to stay and we build around you and Lonnie and Keldon and Vassell, but you wouldn't commit. Wish you the best. Go Spurs go. DeJounte responded to him by saying, the way that system's set up, you're going to be losing for the next 15 years. Problem bigger than basketball. So this guy responded back by saying, fly, little birdie. Good luck getting to the second round. At least we got the picks and we're building around Keldon. DeJounte responded with the same response again, which was, the way that system's set up, you gone be losing for the next 15 years. Problem bigger than basketball. And let's see if he said anything else. Yep, so another guy responded by the name of Breezy Got Gas. His response was, just delete this post, brah. You never cared. Keep posting that ATL shit. You told Trey Young it was finna happen, right? Stay over there and catch a few L seasons. You gone wish you stayed just like Kawhi. And then his response was, you're mad, LMAO. Okay, so that was his response. I'm trying to see if there was anything else. There was another interesting response to DeJounte that was, I think, on Twitter, or it could have been his IG page. So I'm going to read this guy's name out. His name was the Shadow Style Let X. He says, I'm a Spurs fan, but let me say this, DJ, a loyal MF. The Spurs weren't in this case. I feel like the Spurs and DJ both being hush hush about what really went down. Always loved DJ for his leadership and loyalty. The Hawks got a real one. DeJounte's response, you a smart FF, I tell you that. You know what I meant. 100% real and genuine love to the fans only. First, I had to say, man, these guys' grammar is terrible. DJ and these Spurs fans. You guys, please learn how to write complete sentences. I'm not trying to sound like an English teacher here, but for real, learn how to write better. You guys sound like garbage. That's something you guys should all work on. Just it doesn't flow well at all. But anyways, I want to talk about what all these statements mean. So here's what I believe. To be honest, what's going on. I think there's some salt with Dejounte about the Spurs trading him. I don't think he's really salty about getting traded, but I think he's salty from what I've heard is that the Spurs GM Brandon Wright, I think that's his name, Brandon Wright, didn't didn't believe in him when it came to being a franchise player. Just the name of the GM is Brian Wright. So Brian Wright did not believe in him. When it came to being a franchise player. Just I've heard that Brian Wright actually met with Dejounte and his agent, well, his agency Clutch Sports, and straight up told them like, hey, we don't believe he's a max player. We're not going to offer him the super max in a few years, but we will work with you and trade him to a place that he wants to go. So this is just a rumor, but I've heard this rumor, and that's really what went down. And supposedly, I've heard that it rubbed Dejounte the wrong way. It it offended him to some degree because in his mind he believed he was a franchise player. He's a superstar. So I'm not saying it's right the way he overreacted, but one thing I've understood over the years now, following the NBA for a lot of years, is that these guys are very delusional. I think that's part of the reason they became successful by being super delusional. It allowed them to be, good to great players. It also is the reason why they got into the NBA. But I think that delusion also is a curse because they have a lack of awareness and they just don't accept legit criticism. They can't take it. They're very sensitive. I also think that has to do with the fact when they were growing up, a lot of people in their ears told them they're great all the time. So any little bit of criticism alienated them. I just think in DeJounte's case, his ego wouldn't accept that. He's not a franchise player. In his mind, he can't accept that. While I actually do believe he's not a franchise player. I don't think he was. I think long term it was the right move to trade him because if the Spurs gave him the supermax in a few years, they would have been capped out from building a legit team, a team that he could win with. To be honest, this would be a bad team, which probably would be winning 30 some games like they are right now with him and a bunch of garbage players, since his super max would have eaten up all the cap and prevented them from surrounding him with good to great players. So it would have just been a bad look for the Spurs to keep him. I think he's not looking for that angle. Even if he feels he was worth that money, he wouldn't have been able to be on a winning team, and his contract would have been very hard to be traded if he's not being a perennial All Star. I feel Dejounte is a fringe All Star until he can prove, he can be a perennial All Star. There's just no guarantee next year he'll be going to the All Star game. Grant, I think there could be a good chance he gets in, but still, I gotta look at the East to see how many guards they're in that conference before I can say he's gonna get in there for sure. So there's no guarantee, but either way, he wasn't a superstar player. He wasn't a guy that you can build a team around like a LeBron James, a Tim Duncan, a Shaq, or even, a Kawhi or a Giannis. Just he's not that type of guy. So you can't just invest so much money in him and just think that you're gonna reap benefits from it, because there's just no point in paying him that much money when you can win 20 to 30 games with just a bad player, to be honest. So I can see why the Spurs got rid of him. I can see that. And I think just his ego's hurting right now, and that's why he's acting all crazy and saying all those things. I do think, he probably does appreciate the Spurs fans that did say good things about him on his IG page. I think he did respond to one of them, like I read earlier, that said some good things about him. But I think this is just him displaying all the salt about not getting that big contract extension from the Spurs and just being bitter about it. I hope for his sake that he matures and he grows up and he moves past this. I don't think there's any reason for him to be really that upset, or even upset to a large degree. I would say just, you got traded to where you wanted to go. You wanted to play with Trey Young. You're still very young. You're living in the ATL. You'll do what any young person does in your situation. Well, what basketball ballers do. You probably waste that money on strippers, but hey, just enjoy your life. I don't see the reason for you to be angry, and that's just my thoughts about it. Just that's the way I look at it. So let me know what you think.